Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome viewers. Today in this lecture we will be discussing about an overview of type 2 organizational theories. So, the learning objectives here is how human relations, the learning objectives is describing type 2 theories or what we generally call the neoclassical theories. In this we will be discussing about the human relations approach, Hawthorne experiment, behavioral theories, Maslow's theory of motivation, McGregor's theory X and theory Y, and Warren Bennett's death of bureaucracy. So, objective of type 2 theorists or the neoclassical theorists shifted their focus from the rigid structures of classical theories to include the human element in organizations, the concern for employees, their well-being, with key figures like Abraham Maslow and Douglas McGregor. They have emphasized on motivation, human relations and job satisfaction of employees. So, this period saw the development of human relations theory, which studied how social and psychological factors influence work performance. Their concern was human relationship in the workplace. As we have already discussed about various types of theories with the evolution of management concept, type 1 theorist which focused on mechanical efficiency, type 2 theorists major concern is people and human relations, and type 3 theorists have focused on contingency designs, type 4 theorists focused on mathematical and statistical models. And these are all based on various metaphors. Machine metaphor is the prime concern or the perspective of managers in the first phase of in the classical theories, where organization was considered as a closed system. The type 2 theorist focus is organization is like a living systems metaphor. So, with this background we understand what is type 2 theory and why there is a focus on human relations movement. People and human relations. So, it is more about the social systems metaphor or the living beings metaphor. The factors that would create effective human relations, that is individual, how they behave in a group or individuals and groups, the manager subordinate relationship, and the third factor is the social and the psychological factors in the workplace. Theorists are Elton Mayo and Hawthorne studies, Chester Barnard and cooperative systems. Then we will focus on Douglas McGregor and his focus on theory X and theory Y. Warren Bennis discusses about the death of bureaucracy. Other management practitioners who have discussed about human relations movement is Mary Parker Follett, who considered workers as humans. Chester Barnard has also given his views on social and psychological needs. So, human relations movement emphasizes on organizations are not technical systems, they are like social systems, they are like societies where people are motivated by their needs, the biological, physiological needs and some higher order needs. People may not behave in a logical or rational manner. People depend on each other, there is cooperation in the workplace and their behavior is determined by the society or the social context. The attitude and performance of workers are determined by the informal work group. There is a informal work group in any organization where people discuss their problems, they overcome the stress in the workplace, they discuss their personal and their professional issues with their colleagues. Rules and regulations and economic rewards have a limited impact on the behavior of employees. This viewpoint also says that informal group has a stronger impact on the behavior of people. So, emphasis is given on social needs, focus on workers, not on the techniques, and emphasis is also given on management skills rather than the technical skills. These theorists have also given a focus on group dynamics rather than the concern for individual alone. So, the performance of employees depends largely on the society in which they dwell or the people with whom they work. The foundation of behavioral or human resource approach to management has been given by a theory of human needs by Abraham Maslow, Hawthorne studies by Elton Mayo, organizations as communities, the view of Mary Parker Follett, theory X and theory Y given by Douglas McGregor, personality and organizations by Chris Argyris. So, human resource approach or behavioral theorists have given an assumption people are social and self-actualizing. The focus is on living systems metaphor. Hawthorne experiment. In 1927, the Hawthorne experiments were designed by Western Electric industrial engineers Elton Mayo and his associates to examine the effect of illumination or light on the level of workers' productivity. This experiment was carried in the time period 1924 to 27, and it was found that the social norms of the groups were the key determinants of individual behavior. The Hawthorne effect, the possibility that workers receive special attention will perform better. Hawthorne studies few other features are this study examined how economic incentives and physical conditions affected workers' output. Psychological factors influenced results, social settings and human relations. So, a series of experiments have been carried out to see the impact of economic incentives, the physical conditions and its impact on workers' productivity, the concern of psychological factors and its impact on results, the focus on social settings and the relationship in the workplace, and they have manipulated physical work conditions to assess impact on output. They have also designed to minimize the psychological factors of previous experiments. Mayo and his colleagues have concluded that new social settings led workers to do good job. Good human relations led to higher productivity. So, Hawthorne studies have focused on employee attitude and group processes. Some things satisfied some workers, but not others. So, there is no uniform effect of the group processes or group dynamics on every worker. So, people restricted output to adhere to group norms. So, there are certain lessons or key takeaways from the Hawthorne studies. Social and human concerns are key to productivity. Hawthorne effect, people who are singled out for special attention perform as expected. Results of Hawthorne studies, workers did not respond to the classical motivational approach like economic incentives as suggested by Taylor. Instead, they wanted to be accepted by their group. It helped managers to understand their organizations are not just formal arrangement of different functions, but representatives of social systems. Hawthorne studies paved the way for human relations movement. The next group of researchers, Mary Parker Follett, have considered organizations as communities, groups and human cooperation. Groups allow individuals to combine their talents for a greater good. Organizations are cooperating communities of managers and workers. Organizations are places where people can share their experience, they can share their problems. Managers' job is to help people cooperate and achieve an integration of interests. Managers are just facilitators and they help the employees work in coordination with others so that they achieve the common goal. Forward-looking management insights are making every employee an owner, creates a sense of collective responsibility. So, the focus is on having a collective sense of responsibility or ownership towards organizations, which is a precursor for the employee ownership, gain sharing, profit sharing concept, which has been further adopted in organizations. The other concern is business problems involve a variety of interrelated factors. The business problems are not just because of one factor, but there are series of factors, there are series of interrelated factors or variables which have led to the problems in the organizations. This thought is a precursor of systems thinking, or this has resulted in the concept of systems thinking. Private profits relative to public good. So, the focus is on thinking of public or collective good of organization rather than concern for self interest. So, which has given a precursor to the managerial ethics and social responsibility concept. Further, we can also see the Maslow's theory of human needs. A need is a physiological or psychological deficiency of persons. A need is a physiological or psychological deficiency of a person, and every individual tries to fulfill those needs. Those needs are physiological, safety needs, social, self-esteem and self-actualization needs. These needs are present in every employee. When an employee joins, he has several needs and he is motivated by those needs. Some needs are being fulfilled by the organization. Organization takes care of those needs like physiological, safety needs, social needs by providing a conducive environment, and further needs, the higher order needs are once the primary needs or the lower order needs are satisfied, then the individual looks for satisfaction of their higher order needs. Higher order needs are esteem needs and self-actualization needs. So, physiological needs are most basic needs or basic needs of human, every individual, need for biological maintenance, food, water, physical well-being. Organization takes care of providing the physiological needs of an individual. So, Maslow's hierarchy of human needs talks about physiological needs, most basic of all human needs, needs for biological maintenance, food, water and physical well-being. This is the primary need of any individual. Then need for safety, which is need for security, protection and stability in the events of day-to-day life. Social needs are need for affection, sense of belongingness in one's relationship with other people. As Maslow has also given this thought that self-esteem need is the need for esteem in the eyes of others or respect in the eyes of others, prestige, recognition, need for self-esteem, personal sense of competence or mastery, and the last need is self-actualization needs. Highest level need for self-fulfillment to grow and use your competencies to the fullest and most creative extent. So, Maslow says that every individual has all these needs in himself or herself. Every individual has all these needs and they are in the order of hierarchy. However, later on it was also Maslow says that all these needs are prevalent in the individuals in the order of hierarchy. Physiological, safety and social needs are the lower order needs, and self-esteem and self-actualization needs are the higher order needs. This concept is prevalent in the human relations movement, and with the prime objective that an individual is motivated by the needs. Individual's needs guide an individual or a person to move towards the goals. So, an organization motivates employees by taking care of these needs, by providing certain necessary conditions so that the employee's needs are being met. There is no gap between what an individual wants and how the organization provides those conditions. For example, physiological needs by taking care of food, shelter and taking care of physical well-being by giving them the medical facilities and shelter, by giving them residences in the residence, taking care of their food by giving them salary, which is competitive compensation packages. Safety needs are taken care of when you give them protection by certain rights and protection through certain laws, rights, industrial relations, or giving them equity and taking care of equity and well-being. So, all these needs have been taken care of by the organization through the industrial, by certain rights like medical facilities are given. There is no difference between men and women. So, there are industrial laws which protect and safeguard the interest of individuals. Social needs are the workplace is so conducive. There are some informal and formal meetings where people meet other individuals, they can share their woes, they can share their experiences. And self-esteem needs is when you interact, when an individual is given responsibility and he is able to achieve those goals, he is given some responsibility, certain goals, and he is able to achieve those goals. So, he is gaining respect in the, or garnering respect in, or prestige, recognition in the eyes of others. So, need for self-actualization needs is highest level need for self-fulfillment to grow and use those abilities. An individual or a person working in the organization, by taking different responsibility, takes up, he or she is learning in different positions, and in slowly the person is gaining competency. Is when the person is growing in the organization, all the needs have been fulfilled. So, finally, the person is in the self-actualization stage, in the position of giving back to his society, that is people who are working under him, or to the colleagues who are younger colleagues who are joining in the organization, so they can learn from that person. So, self-actualization need is the highest level need for fulfillment, self-fulfillment. This is the place, or this is the position or the need where the individual has almost satiated his, or has got all the needs, primary needs satisfied, and he is like a mentor for the junior employees. So, Maslow's theory of human needs, basically the concern is a satisfied need is not a motivator of behavior. Progression principle talks about a need becomes a motivator once the preceding lower level need is satisfied. Both the principles cease to operate at self-actualization level. Douglas McGregor is the next management practitioner who says Douglas McGregor has given a concept of theory X and theory Y. McGregor posited two views of human beings: theory X, that is a negative view about employees, and theory Y, which is having a positive view about employees. So, McGregor has given two views, dominant views of theory X and theory Y. Theory X perceives employees dislike to work and avoid work, they are complacent, they resist any kind of change, they must be forced, threatened or controlled to achieve desired goals. Employees are responsible and seek formal direction. There has to be a formal direction. Place security above all other factors associated with the work and will display little ambition. Theory Y assumes that employees or workers are always willing to work, they are capable of self-control, willing to accept responsibility, they are imaginative and creative, they are capable of self-direction, they need not be guided by the manager. So, implication of theory X and theory Y is managers create self-fulfilling prophecies. Theory X managers create situations where workers become dependent and they are reluctant to work. Theory Y managers create a situation where workers respond with initiative and higher performance. So, these two theories have a different conclusion, conflicting conclusion. Theory X says that people need to be led, they depend on their managers and they have a reluctance to take initiative. Employees will take initiative and employees can drive their performance and managers need not closely supervise. So, the control is mostly given to the employees who are working. So, this has given the concept of empowerment. The central notion of empowerment and self management has emanated from the theory Y concept. This theory X and theory Y given by McGregor has given emphasis on the relationship between leader and the members. The leader member relationship in the workplace is depicted by the theory X and theory Y. So, theory X says that leader's role is to guide employees, or leader will exercise control over employees in order to get the desired objective. Theory Y says that manager empowers the subordinates and subordinates take control over the work. So, these concepts have given rise to different types of management styles: autocratic, laissez-faire and democratic leadership styles. So, and the focus is on how managers can derive or how managers can influence people to work. Organizational behavior and learning this is concept given by Chris Argyris. This theory is based on organizational behavior and learning, which highlights the gap between what people say and what they actually do. So, there is always a difference between what we say and how much we perform. Propose the concept of single and double loop learning. Argyris has given the concept of single and double loop learning, emphasizing importance of questioning underlying assumptions for effective organizational change. We cannot discard our past behavior unless we understand, unless we scrutiny the existing situation, unless we ask questions. So, questioning the underlying assumptions is very important for bringing about effective change. There is another focus on maturity immaturity model. The concept of maturity immaturity model treats employees as adults who have responsibility, and these adults with responsibility, they foster a more productive and engaged workforce. If we treat employees as adults, give them responsibility, and they will be more productive as they are empowered and they are more engaged workforce. The key concepts of Argyris theory of adult personality is espoused theory versus theory in use, maturity immaturity model, single loop learning, double loop learning. So, the first concept, that is espoused versus theory in use, distinguishes what people claim to behave and how they actually behave, causing ineffective actions within organizations. Generally, we assume that after learning or after getting training, we assume that we will be able to accomplish the goals, we will be able to carry out the task, but in reality there is always a deficiency in individuals. That deficiency need to be overcome by giving them training. This model posits that adults or mature individuals are active, they are independent and they are self-confident, while immature individuals are more passive and they are dependent. This is very similar to the thought of theory X, theory Y, that some individuals are independent, some individuals need direction. Single loop learning focuses on correcting errors, as we have discussed in espoused and theory in use, that after gaining training or after learning, we assume that we will be able to take up responsibility, but still there are gaps in our performance. So, the single loop learning theory focuses on correcting errors within existing system, while double loop learning involves questioning and changing the underlying assumptions and norms that govern those systems. The emphasis of single loop learning is to develop individuals. Double loop learning emphasizes on developing systems by asking questions, underlying changing the assumptions or the status quo. Model 1 organizations are characterized by defensive routines and single loop learning, and Model 2 organizations emphasize on open communication, collaboration, double loop learning. So, here what we have learned is Argyris says that when there is a change, there are gaps in individuals' performance. The second concept talks about individuals. There are two types of individuals, mature and immature. Mature individuals can take up responsibility, immature people need guidance, and there is focus on single loop learning, which emphasizes on correcting our present performance by developing ourselves, and the double loop learning says that the system needs to be developed. That means there is a need for continuous change and questioning where the correction is required in the organization or underlying assumptions. So, based on that, there are two models which are emerging. One is the characterized by Model 1 characterizing defensive routines and single loop learning, emphasizing on the training, whereas Model 2 organizations emphasize on communication, collaboration and double loop learning. So, implication of Argyris theory is organizational learning. It says that there is a need to change the system, there is a need to change people. Organizational learning, effective leadership, employee engagement and organizational change. So, let us just discuss these things in more details. Organizational learning encourages problem solving and addresses the root cause of issues through double loop learning. That means changing systems, developing the structure, developing strategies, and the focus is on changing the status quo, encourages problem solving and identifies the root cause of issues through organizational diagnosis. Effective leadership recognizes the gap between espoused, what people say, and what people do. Leaders can understand their own behavior and foster more productive relationship with their teams. What is the role of leaders? When people are not able to perform as per their expectations, as per expectations of organizations, the leader need to work more in coordination with the employee and foster a productive relationship with the team members. So, leader's role is very important. Here it talks about leader-member relationship. Leader has to understand each individual's needs. Leader has to take care of who requires which type of training. So, we can say that through leaders' idealized influence, inspirational motivation and intellectual stimulation and individualized consideration, a leader can be more effective and develop his or her teams. Team members' performance. Employee engagement concept treats employees as adult learners, adults who are independent, who can take initiative, responsibilities, and they are empowered to foster responsibility. They are empowered, they can lead to motivation and commitment. Organizational change provides a framework to understand the challenges of organizational change and develop various strategies to foster adaptive and learning oriented culture. So, Argyris theory also emphasizes on leader-member relationship, developing employees, developing their capacities and prepare them for organizational change. So, this theory emphasizes that classical management principles and practices inhibit workers to mature and are inconsistent with mature adult personality. Psychological success occurs when people define their own goals. When you empower people, when you bestow responsibilities on your employees, treat them as adult individuals, they can take independent decisions. So, and they are not dependent on the success will come to them. Psychological success occurs when people are able to clearly distinguish their goals and they are being treated as independent individuals who are empowered and less reliant on their leaders. This theory also emphasizes on management practices should accommodate the mature personality by increasing task responsibility. Give them more responsibility, give them more power to take decisions, to independently act and accomplish the goals, increase more variety in the task, add more tasks, give more assignments, use participative decision making. Like there has to be, it is not always that the leader gives directions, but also take their views. Taking their views gives them a sense of being recognized, which will lead to more commitment and engagement in the workplace. Then next we will discuss about Warren Bennis and how he has influenced the human relations movement. Warren Gamaliel Bennis was dominant management scholar, American scholar and an organizational consultant, widely regarded as pioneer in the field of leadership studies. Bennis famously predicted the death of bureaucracy in 1966. He argued that its rigid hierarchical structure was poorly suited for the fast-paced, turbulent environment or a dynamic environment of the modern industrial world. He believed bureaucracy's focus is on stability and rules stifled the innovation, flexibility and human potential necessary for organizational success in a rapidly changing landscape. Warren Bennis has given certain arguments on bureaucracy. Bureaucratic structure, which is designed for stable environment, could not cope with the pace of technological change. The emphasis is on the rules, procedures, top-down hierarchy. In bureaucracy, inherently it stifles creativity and risk-taking, which is crucial for adaptation and innovation. The emphasis on rules, procedures and top-down hierarchy in the bureaucracy inherently stifles human creativity and risk-taking initiatives, risk-taking crucial for adaptation and innovation. Bureaucracy alienated individuals, limiting their growth and autonomy, leading to reduced employee morale and productivity. So, therefore, there is a need for flexibility. Bennis has emphasized on flexibility. He advocated for fluid adaptive organizational forms or an organic form such as adhocracies, which rely on temporary interdisciplinary teams to solve specific problems. So, why bureaucracy still persists? This persistence of bureaucracy is due to its value in providing simple, understandable structure and usefulness of its core functions. Bureaucratic principles are still prevalent in organizations because it gives us a simplest way to understand structure and its usefulness in organizations. Simplicity and codification. Bureaucracy offers a straightforward, easily applied model for planning, organizing, directing and controlling, planning, decomposing tasks and coordinating with various employees. It is very easy if you have well placed rules and regulations. So, you can delegate, plan your you can have a plan, you can delegate responsibilities, hierarchy can be decided and work can be coordinated amongst employees. Valuable functions, the elements of bureaucracy that are effective such as clear roles and processes remain valuable for managing many operational and administrative activities. Till date, bureaucracy is in place because it will help an organization to keep in pace and there is no mismanagement. Adaptable workforce, adaptable framework. While the traditional model remains, many organizations have adapted by incorporating Warren Bennis' idea of decentralization, and increased employee engagement rather than completely replacing bureaucracy. So, what we summarize is, till date organizations have bureaucracy, there is theory of authority, relations and structure, and however, because of the dynamic environment, organizations have also started moving towards flexibility, towards decentralization, empowerment, and all these have slowly given way to improve efficiency of organizations. To summarize, this lecture gives you a broad overview of type 2 theories or the type 2 theories, Maslow's theory of human needs, human relations, behavioral approach, Douglas McGregor's theory X and theory Y, which emphasizes on the leader-member relations, Argyris theory of adult personality, where there is a focus on empowerment, engagement of workers. Thank you.